Did you get stretched?
Yes.
Are you growing?
Yes.
Who didn't like it? Gotcha. so this she was just following along. She didn't expect it. I got her. So I don't know. I think what the church needs. I think what our church needs is realness. We don't have that real. A lot of the churches are lacking like a realness. Like you see each other at church. You say hi. How you doing? I'm like the most guilty of this because I'm the busy guy, and I go from that back door when I come in straight to my computer and just work. I'm busy. But we have to take the time, like he was saying, to see people. Even people that you're meeting on a daily basis, their waiter. The last 2 weeks for me have been like that, like what he was describing. And just there's some stuff going on. I'm not going to go into that because I'm not the speaker today. So anyway, not close enough. I don't like it right here. It's too loud. Anyway, so last night I was at Chick-fil-A and I ended up talking to a police officer for, I think it was about 45 minutes. It was a testimony. It was really cool. And I actually had him in a small room where neither one of us were going anywhere. My wife was waiting in the car for like 45 minutes. And so it's really cool. And so anyway, I just started doing the same thing where it's just, I feel like I can see people now. And for a long time, I've been in ministry for a long time, and which I didn't really actually qualify as that, but it's been about 20 years, and there's a certain extent to it to where dealing with people and situations, you can get calloused, and you can get to where it's a routine, and that's the place you want to stay out of. You want to stay real, and you want to keep that relationship the forefront, because that's what matters. It doesn't matter how many people you heal. It doesn't matter what you do. I don't care if you walk on water and 5,000 people get saved. If you don't have that relationship, then it doesn't matter, because there's going to be sheeps, goats. He's going to look at some and he's going to say, I didn't know you. And so if you don't know him, then you're going to be in that group that said, but we saw these people healed. In your name we did these things. But if you don't know him, you're going to be in that group that he says, I don't know you. And you don't want to be there at all. And I can almost start crying right now because I don't normally cry. I'm the guy that watches a movie and it's the saddest part in the world, Old Yeller dies. And I'm like, so the last 2 weeks, it's been like waterworks for me, because I run into people and like total strangers in like a sushi bar, and I just, out of completely random conversation that I initiate on purpose, because I see them. I don't see what they're doing. I see the core, and I see what's twisted. And I want to reach in there and untwist it. And that's what Jesus did to people. He didn't say, oh, she's an adulteress. That's her problem. It wasn't her problem. She had a deeper problem. And he didn't look at that. He looked at the inside. So that's what we should be doing. Anyway, I'm preaching. This guy right here, this guy, how far can I go out this way? I want to be closer over here to him. Anyway, I was with this guy for a long time in Thailand. We went over there. We sold everything we had. We moved there. This is funny because it's a long story, so I'm going to sum it up real short. I went on a trip with my dad, and me and Merle were talking about going overseas missionaries. And we started doing spit wads at a map, to figure out where we were supposed to go. Very spiritual, very spiritual. So it didn't work. Everywhere we landed on was like uninhabited Iceland, ice areas. So I went on this trip with my dad it was like a month-long trip. We went to like 4 or 5 different places, from here all the way up to Colorado, Portland, and then back through California, back through Colorado. And so everywhere along this trip, short, like summed up, everywhere along this trip I ran into somebody, and Jesus was saying Thailand. And we went here, Thailand. And so by the time this trip was over, I had a place to stay, with an American toilet that worked, which, that's important. And then it was important for my wife. And then I had another guy at a different place completely, and I wasn't looking for it. It just popped up, and they just started talking about it. And so another guy had a job for my wife where she could teach English, and it supported us. So like I was figuring this out. It was going to be set up real nice. And so another guy we met, his ex-Green Beret, he sneaks Bibles into Laos, Cambodia. It was his parents. They were at the DHT. And so they were hooking us up with this guy. And that was like, yes, that's awesome. And just illegally go into countries and take Bibles. And that's just really cool. I mean, that's adventure, So anyway, so by the time I get back, I sit down with my wife and I'm like, we're actually laying down for bed. And I was like, what do you think about selling everything we have and moving to Thailand? And she was like, no, never going to happen. But not because she didn't want to be a missionary, but because her father was a missionary in Haiti. And that's, if she was ever going to go anywhere, that's where it would be. And so God worked on her for about 2 weeks, blah, blah, blah. And she completely flipped and was sold. And so we ended up doing it. But we went over there, and right before we left, we bought our ticket 6 months in advance. 3 days before we got there, tsunami happened. So when we landed, we hit the ground running, went straight there. And with this guy, 6-hour drive across Thailand. So anyway, point is, this guy, those, what's it called? Divine encounters, divine appointments. There you go. The first church we went to had this missionary board, and I walked over to this missionary board, and you know how they got the little pictures, the families and the strings, and we don't have one here, but we should. I don't know why we don't, but so anyway, so I walk over to that, and there's this family there, and they're in Thailand. I was like, oh, cool, Thailand. That was the first thing on the first trip, and so it was the first seed, and then after that, it was Thailand, all the way up to back. So anyway, so I get to Thailand. It completely flipped where we were going. We went south instead of north. All those promises of the toilets and all that stuff, none of that happened. And honestly, I felt like God tricked us. Like, he's like, this is going to be great. Just kidding. You're going to the south where nobody wants to be, where there's no missionaries, where there's not thousands of missionaries living comfortably. It's hot and humid. And anyway, so I get there, and we're there for about a month, I think. We walk into their house for it was like a prayer meeting or something. And so we walk into their house, and I see this picture sitting on the little dresser. And it's the same picture that was in that first house, that first church on the missionary board. Their family was that family. And so had no clue till that moment. So it's not an accident that I met this guy, and he's awesome. So this is Clinton Garcia.
So when we went there, that was in 2006. Me and Dad, this is my brother John, by the way, if nobody's ever met him. This is Curry's only son. This is him. I don't think anybody's ever seen him up here before. But we haven't, say again? Yeah, self-proclaimed. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, yeah, 100%. Anyway, now we haven't seen him in 10 years, or talked to him, I don't think, in 10 years. And Dad doesn't let just anybody up here. Haven't seen or talked to him in 10 years. John said, hey, can Clinton come and speak? And Dad said, absolutely. When? As soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that was, what, Thursday?
It usually at least takes a minute to, make sure, check.
Yeah.
And
it was not even a hesitation. And that's the caliber and the character and integrity of this man that we met 10 years ago.
So. And I didn't really hear any moves. I know that's a thing. So I actually warned him when I talked to him. I was like, look, our people are honed in, man. And, started thinking about it. I was like, I don't know if that's respect. I don't know if that's right. Like the mooing thing. It's funny. It's cool. It's sarcastic. It's the world's culture. It's not Christ's culture. But I'm sorry. It reminded me of the Pharisees when they were trying to catch him in his speech. Like, is that right? It doesn't seem right. I just didn't feel right about it. Anyway, so this is Clinton Garcia. He's an amazing man of God. When you're around him, you get Jesus. He talks Jesus. The first guy I ever met that actually did 40-day fast, like for real. And we'd go out to the villages together. And so we'd go out to the villages, go door to door. And he'd pick me up in the morning, and I'd have him pull over to 7-Eleven, and I know he's fasting. And I'm like, I don't want to say rebel, but I'm that rough serrated, he was talking about iron versus sharpening iron. I do think it's on purpose, because if you can't be tempted, then while you're trying to do something, then it's not discipline. You're not really doing it. If it has to be removed from you, then if you have to be removed from the world to not be like it, then you don't have Jesus, because Jesus allows you to be like him in the midst of darkness, to be a light in darkness. So I'd get him to pull over 7. He's like, I want a Coke, I want a bag of chips, like my dad. And plus it was about the only thing I could eat when I got there. I was like, so I get that, and then I get a candy bar, but I would get his favorite kind. And then I'd get his favorite drink, and I would get 2 of them. And I'd get in the car and I'd hand them to him. But the whole thing, you can't say you're fasting, all those kind of things. So yeah, that was our beginning experience. So here he is, Clinton Garza.
Only you, bro. Okay, so John gave you a story. Now let me give you a story too. It is 2005. Tsunami hits Banda Aceh in Sumatra. 210,000 people lose their lives. That same tsunami hit southern Thailand. 12,000 people lost their lives in a matter of moments. The day we heard it, so that was the 26th in Southeast Asia. It was the 26th of December. The 27th, we had gathered just everything we possibly could get: clothes, food, water, everything we could get, medicine, piled them into the back of our trucks. And this guy, man, shows up. This John, shows up with his family. He says, man, we're in this. Let's go for it. So I said, okay, man, let's go, bro. We got to drive. We're getting in. We're going to drive 6 hours across the country. We're going to get to where they are. So the first time I went, there were thousands of bodies laying all over the ground. Everywhere. Everything was destroyed. There was nothing was not destroyed. It was mass chaos. I mean, if you've never smelt a dead body, then you probably do not want to step into a crisis situation. And you surely do not want to step into a tsunami situation. Because when the water goes down and bodies are laying everywhere, then you are in the midst of a very, very heightened, intense situation. Okay, so that's what we stepped into. Came back to our city. John moved in. John and I got together, and we're driving across the country. I said, hey, man, are you hungry? And he said, yeah, I'm starving. I asked permission to share this testimony, by the way, for all you listening at home. You're going to love this. So this guy, man, we're getting in the truck. We're driving along. I said, hey, man, you hungry? He said, yeah, I'm starving. I said, what do you want to eat? He said, I don't know what they have in Thailand. I said, man, they have the best fried chicken in the world in Thailand, man. I mean, they fried all over the place. It was just amazing fried chicken. He said, that's great. So I jump out, get him some fried chicken, get back in the car. I wasn't fasting at this time, but I did get us both. And so I'm just gobbling chicken down, throwing bones out the window, And John I don't know what he was doing to this chicken. I really don't know, because he was like nibbling at the chicken. And so I'm looking, literally I turned and I was looking, I'm driving along. I said, is that chicken okay, bro? And he said, yeah, it's good. And I was like, are you sure? Because you're not eating it. And he said, this is his words, okay? He said, I'm 26, right? I'm 26 and I've never eaten chicken on the bone. And I was like, what? 26 and you never eaten chicken on the bone? I said, what do you mean you never eat chicken on the bone? He said, my mom never cooked chicken on the bone. I was like, you are in serious trouble being here in Thailand. You are in serious trouble, bro, because they don't have chicken that's not on the bone. And I watched John go from a guy who didn't eat chicken on the bone to eating some of the, some curries that Americans could never even dream about eating. Like, oh my, I mean, make you get sick. And this guy just transformed. I watched him take his life and just serve Jesus with it. Love Christ, love his wife, love his kids, love Thai people, grow to where he actually went and ordered Thai food instead of being like, chips and Coke were not his daily dinner. He ate chips and when he says curry eats chips and a Coke, That's it, man. The whole time Curdy was there, I was like, "Are you gonna eat anything else?" He said, "No, man, chips and a Coke." It's like, you're gonna die young, man, eating food like that. So it was really great having John around and being part of what God was doing in the earth. Yeah, it was just really amazing. And we thank God so much. So let me give you just a little background real quick, and then I'm going to jump